Hello everyone, welcome back to our virtual self-defense seminar series brought to you by Premier Martial Arts and the Emily Taylor Center. My name is Emily Hull and I'm the instructor teaching the series. If you haven't yet watched the intro video from last week, I would suggest you start there, but other than that, we should be good to start. Today we will be working through some warm-ups and exercises that will allow you to practice your self-defense techniques while preparing to do more exercise. Now, I realize that we haven't actually covered any combatives or anything of that sort, but as we go along, we can do a crash course to make sure that you get exposure to those techniques. As always, if you have any questions, suggestions, or requests, please just let me know at em.hull@ku.edu so I can address them. I will also be trying to throw in some modifications for those who may have problems doing some of the original warm-ups, so everyone can participate, but if you would like different suggestions based on your circumstances, by all means reach out. So now I think we are ready to get up and moving. Let me just pull up my list here. Okay, so today we're going to start off with some cardio, then move on to arms, abs, and legs, and then at the end we'll get into some stretching a little bit and some exercises that work the whole body all at once. So let's start with our cardio. The first thing that I want to show you is jumping jacks with punches. So everybody knows the traditional jumping jack, but to make it a little more self-defense friendly, what we're going to do today is a jumping jack with punches. So we're going to bring our hands up just like this in what's called our guarding stance. We'll talk more about that later. But then we're going to move our feet like normal jumping jacks and punch with our left and our right arms as we do our jumping jacks. So it looks a little bit like this. You go out and in while you're alternating punches, just like that. So it should be coordinated, whereas where your hands would go up, now you use one punch, and when you come in, you use the other punch. It takes a little bit of coordination, but that's half the fun. The next exercise we can work on is high knees. Now obviously knees are utilized in self-defense quite a bit, so it's always good to practice that flexibility of getting your knees up higher. So the traditional high knee, you hold your hands out just like this, and then you do high knees as high as you can. Try and see how far you can go. Even if it's one leg at a time, that's still working on that flexibility and getting that heart rate up. So the third exercise that we can do to work on our cardio before we start doing self-defense is shadow boxing. Now shadow boxing really helps you practice your technique, because it's using your technique to get that heart rate up. So we're going to go into our guarding stance or a self-defense stance, and this is where you can practice your combatives. Even if all you know is punches, turning, punching, moving, pretending like there's opponents in the room. That's what shadow boxing does. So you're punching, you're using those techniques, you're using what you've learned, and just getting that heart rate up while practicing your technique. That's called shadow boxing. It's like you're fighting shadows. We're not actually hitting things here. So it's a good way to practice without physical contact. Next up, our last one for cardio is sprawls with palm strikes. So this is somewhat similar to a drill that we will go over later in the video series, but for right now, we're going to keep it short and simple with sprawls and palm strikes. So you're going to sprawl, put your hands on the floor, and try and touch your hips to the floor as you shoot your feet back. Then when you come up, you go to your stance and you do 2 palm strikes. And then you can restart. You sprawl, come up, and do 2 palm strikes. If you need to, you can go down on your knees when you do your sprawl to be gentle on your back. That's really something that you can do slowly or quickly depending on your physical ability. So that's all for cardio for today. We might go over some further down the line, but we'll stick with those 4 to start off with. Next, we'll move on to arms. So arms usually has a lot of push-ups, but that's why we have different variations so they don't get boring. The first one we're going to do is a push-up with a backwards elbow. So you go to your push-up position, your hands should be in line with your shoulders. You don't want them way out here or up here or anything like that. Try and keep them right beneath your shoulders. From here, you can do it on your knees or up on your feet, but either way, your back just needs to be straight and aligned with your legs. That way you have the correct alignment and you don't hurt your back. So you're here, you got your straight back. We're going to go down as far as we can, depending on your mobility. That may change person to person, but we're going to go down as far as we can, and when we come up, we're going to do a backwards elbow. Now this would be like if there was someone standing behind us and we did that elbow here. We would ideally be hitting with this part of the elbow if there were a person there. However, this is mostly just to work on flexibility and getting that rotation. And then on the next one, we can go down, come up, and we can do the other arm, just like that. So that's a push-up with a backwards elbow. Now, the next one is a little bit of a variation off of that. It's a push-up with a punch. So you do your push-up, come back up, chamber that hand, and then throw a punch straight out. And then you go down, and you can do the exact same thing. My computer seems to have fallen asleep with my list here. Okay. So our next one is one that you can do with a partner. I don't have anybody here with me now, but I can certainly demonstrate this with one of my family members later. It's partner push-ups. So the way that works is you face each other. If I had a partner, they would be facing me in push-up position, right here. And then what we would do is we would both do a push-up, and then we would do a low five. And then we would do another push-up, and then we'd do the other hand. So that's if you're working with somebody. It just makes it a little bit more fun, so that way you can work with a partner on that. And we'll probably do something with more partner exercises later as we get into the technique while working with partners. So that's the last one I had written down for arms. If you would like suggestions on something without push-ups, just let me know, and there are some more that I would share. I thought I would probably just keep it simple for today. So now that we're done with cardio and arms, we're going to go ahead and move on to abs. So with abs, we have the classic sit-ups or crunches that are always a good option. Sit-ups are with your feet on the floor. Crunches are where they're crossed in the air. Today we're going to do some modifications off of those and try some new things. So I'm going to adjust this really quick so it's up further. There we go. You can see me a little better now. So the first one we're going to do is sit-ups with a jab cross. So this is your normal sit-up. You go down and back up, and then when you come up, you'll throw a left-right punch, just like that. So you go back, come up, left-right, and make sure you're rotating your shoulders on those, so you're working on that good rotation for when you're doing standing punches. They should have the same body mechanics, except obviously here you don't have your legs working for you. Another one we can do is bicycle kicks. So that's where we're on our back and we extend our feet like this. If you want an extra challenge, you can touch your elbow to your knee as you do so, just like this. Another one that we can do that is generally seen in association with abs is planks. So today we're going to work on a couple variations on planks that make them a little less boring, frankly. So the first one we're going to do with planks is you can either be up on your hands or down on your elbows. I'm going to do mine on my hands because I'm on carpet and I don't want it to tear up my arms. The first one we're going to do is called plank jacks. Now the goal is to make sure that your back and legs, just like in our push-up position, which this is, are straight. And that's our goal, is to keep it that way. So as we keep our back straight, what we're going to do is jumping jacks with our feet. So we're going to go out and in, keeping our back as straight as possible as we do so. Another one we can do is just like those push-ups that we did earlier, where you're maybe down on your arms, and as you do plank, you go back and forth with those backward elbows, working on that flexibility and your abs at the same time. Whew, okay. Turns out I need to do more ab workouts. Okay, so that's all I have for abs today. I tried to mix it up beyond the usual sit-ups. Obviously we have more variations of those, but I was trying to get a little variety in there. And like I said, we'll probably do more in each of these categories later and kind of build on what we're doing here today. So next up, we have legs, my personal favorite. So what we're going to start off with is squats with kicks. Now, you can really do this any way. I'm going to start off with side kicks, and then I'll also demonstrate front and back. So what we want to do is we want to get our feet about shoulder width here, and I'm going to bring my hands up just like this in our self-defense stance. From here, I'm going to squat just like I'm sitting back in a chair, and then I'm going to pick up one of my legs and kick out to the side, and then put it right back down. Then I'll squat, and I can do the other side. That's called a side kick because we're going out to the side. We're pulling our toes back and kicking with our heel. Now you can also do this with front and back kicks. So you're here, you have your feet shoulder width, you squat like you're sitting back in a chair, and then you kick out in front, pulling those toes back. And you can alternate feet as you do this, just like this. It also works with back kicks. So you're here, you squat, and then you back kick, and then you squat, and then you back kick. We'll go more into these combatives and things like that later. My computer went to sleep again. We'll work on those more when we get to combatives. We'll see some of those return. But for now, as long as you're doing the squat and working on the motions, it should be just fine. Next up is lunges with a twist. So we have here our normal lunges, going forward like this, but eventually that gets pretty boring. So what we're going to do is add a slight twist to it. So we're going to go down, and as we're down, we're going to twist to the outside of our front leg. So you twist like this. If you have a medicine ball, this is a great opportunity to use that. You go down and twist, just like this. And try and get those 90-degree bends in your legs if you can. If it's hard for you to hit that position, you can also have like a chair or something like that that's about knee height. You can put this leg up on the chair, and then you can kind of do squats with that one leg, just to make it a little bit easier if you have mobility or strength issues. The last one that I wanted to talk about for legs is our lunge kick. So this one, instead of going forward, we're going to go a backwards lunge. So we're here, we go backwards, and then with that same leg that we just put back, we're going to come up and do a front kick. And then we can do the other side. So we go back, and then we come up, do front kick. Go back, and that same leg does the kick. So that incorporates a little bit of the technique into the lunges, and making sure you get that lunge and working on your technique and flexibility with that kick. So this is all I have so far for cardio, arms, abs, and legs. Again, if there's an exercise you like and you want to see how you can maybe throw a Krav spin on it, just let me know. And I love coming up with exercises like that, so that would be perfect. There are only a couple more things that I want to show you today that kind of work everything and also work on stretching. So the first one, everybody's favorite, is burpees. So burpees are an exercise that work on sprawls, jumps. You can do multiple variations off of all of them. So today, I'd like to show you a couple of those. So for our burpees, we're going to go down, do our sprawl, and then come up and reach for the sky as we jump. So that's just the general burpee. You go down, sprawl, and come back up and jump. Now there are a few ways that you can change this and modify it. One of them is when you come down and do your sprawl, you can do a push-up and then come back up. Or as you do it, you could do any of those push-ups that we did earlier. You can go down, do your push-up, and then do your elbow, and then hop back up. So this really works your cardio and your arms, legs, anything you want to. I usually find a set of 15 to 20 to be more than enough. So don't push yourself too hard on those. The last two things I want to show you today are kicks. I'm going to go ahead and move the camera back just a little. There we go. That way you can see a little better. So the first one is a straight up stretch kick. After you've done all of these warm-ups, it's good to make sure that you're stretching a little bit before you get moving and doing technique, just so there are no injuries. So the straight up stretch kick, I'm going to put my right leg back first. I'm going to bring my hands up and I'm going to straight up stretch. Now, the main goal of this is to just stretch out your leg muscles so that way you don't pull anything once you start working. It's not a goal of who can get to the highest, right? So if you can only make it up to here, or if you can make it up to here, it's just based on you and your personal best. So you come here, keep your legs straight all the way up and all the way down. And if you want to push yourself higher and higher, be gentle with it, not to the point where you feel pain, but you can push yourself, especially after you've been doing it for a while, to maybe reach that next level. So I'll show it on my left leg as well. We're here, and we kick up, just like this. The next one is a similar variation. It's called a crescent kick, and it's usually used in Taekwondo with the circular straight leg motion. But today we're going to use it to open up our hips and to stretch our hips. So I'm going to put my right leg back first. I'm going to go inside out first. It's called an inside out crescent. Just like that. I cross my body first, and then I go to the outside. You can also do the other way, which is outside in. So I start on the outside, and then I cross my body. They're both good stretches. They work different parts of your hip, but it's important to make sure that your hips are all stretched out, so that way there are no injuries when you start working on technique. So with my left leg inside out, goes like this. And then outside in goes this way. Again, it depends on your flexibility, how far you want to push yourself with those. Just make sure that if you are pushing yourself to get that new height, that you're not stretching to the point where you feel pain, because that's probably a little bit too far for our purposes. Okay, so those are all of the warm-ups and techniques that I had planned for today. I know it was a lot. This is a bit of a longer video. Don't feel like you have to at any point before working on technique do all of these. It's a good option sometimes to just pick a couple and start with those before doing your warm-ups or your techniques. I wanted to give you a whole bunch of different ones so that you would have a little bit of a variety as you work through, and that way to make sure you didn't get bored with the same old routine. So now that we've gone over a whole bunch of different exercises, I hope that you all are getting excited about self-defense. This is kind of the first step on the road. Here in the next couple weeks, we'll be talking about what Krav Maga is, which is my form of self-defense training, and why it works in dangerous situations before we move on to actually applying the Krav principles to self-defense techniques. So I hope by showing all of you these warm-ups today, you can begin working on your technique, even if it's just something as small as practicing that punch before we get into the real nitty-gritty technique. So as always, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, or you want more warm-ups or modifications or things like that, just let me know at em.hull@ku.edu. Stay positive, stay safe, and until next time, rock chalk.